Planet Earth, third planet from the Sun. A cool place within the solar system where you can pause and take a deep breath without your lungs exploding. Home to an amazing array of wildlife and amazing landscapes that will leave you breathless either through wonder or fear. For humans, it's a place they call home, the only one that they have now. Team Surai follows a dedicated group of individuals dedicated to protecting the planet. Their mission, to encourage viewers to take concrete steps to protect the Earth. Catch Team Surai Thursdays at 6 p.m. S3, open up.
This Youth Month, SAFM celebrates the spirit, power and potential of young South Africans. Join us as we dive into conversations that matter, from innovation to education and skills for the changing world. Empowering youth for meaningful economic participation. Because at SAFM, we're not just talking, we're leading the conversations that move us.
Hi, I'm Zycard. Catch me every Saturday from 7 to 9 p.m. on Spotlight as we bring you blow-by-blow sporting action, news. That's Spotlight every Saturday. You don't want to miss it.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
All right, let me start it off in Cape Town this morning. Magwega, good morning to you.
Hello?
Hi, sir.
Hello?
Yes, you're live on the radio.
Good morning, Cathy, and good morning to SAFM listeners. Cathy, kunento nje endiphatha kabuhlungu. You just in your intro, you said it's 78 people in Eastern Cape lost their lives, and then it can be still more. But into bendifuna nje uyicela kubantu base-South Africa, now ayileli xesha lento yoba ngoku kuthiwa uvotele eyiphi iparty. Aba bantu bapha Eastern Cape banida uncedo nakubani. They lost everything. Now they are in pain. So apha kwi-media nakwezi political party, I wish those leaders from each and every political party can go there in Eastern Cape just to help stop putting political, all these things on that situation. People are very, very hurt. And then that number can rise anytime. The floods are everywhere. It can happen anywhere, even in Cape Town, anyway it can happen. So I wish really people, they can stop blaming people. You vote for this particular party. If you don't have something to offer, please just keep quiet. Because we have relatives on that side, we don't know their situation now. Mm-hmm. Now you putting all these things in social media, how we must feel. Thank you, Cathy.
So Matkara, do you think that that's not driven by an attempt to get to the bottom of why things are the way that they are? So if you talk about young children having to already cross bridges that were unsafe in the first instance, do you think it's avoidable?
Yes, Cathy. Straightforward. That thing, the taxi or whatsoever was driving that, you can't just go through the water and then you see how the water is. You think you can make it with the lives of people. If you don't like your life, just go alone. Leave other people better. Because some of the people there, abanye abantu ababekwanga i-ANC kwezi ndawo babekwe kuzo ngoku izinamanzi, ziinkosi ezibabeke phaa. Ngelaa xesha kuthiwa kucandwa izizwe, ziinkosi ezibabeke phaa. So to me, it's like, people, if you can help, please don't put blame on people of ANC who vote this particular party. And the people who are going there, the leaders, they must stop their going there as a party. They must go there to help people.
Okay. All right, Matwega. Let's leave it
Thank
there.
you.
He's out in Cape Town. Also on the line is Principal Fuzile Jumba. Principal Jumba is the principal of Jumba Senior Secondary School in Mthatha. Mr. Jumba, good morning to you. Thank you for your time this morning. Hello, Mr. Jumba. All right. It looks like we've lost him on the line there. And my understanding is that Jumba Secondary School is one of the areas that the president is going to be visiting today in order to try and get a sense of how deep the problem in the Eastern Cape is and how much support that province is going to need just to respond to this crisis and respond to this emergency. Maqwera says, please don't tell people that they should have voted differently in the middle of the crisis. It's hurtful to those that are trying to respond, to those that are dealing with having lost family members, having lost loved ones, others who don't even know at this stage where their loved ones are. I'm not convinced that it's unavoidable. I don't know that it's something that doesn't arise, because naturally, if people are having a conversation around infrastructure, the question is going to be, well, who has been administrating all of that? Who's been in charge of all of that? Yes, it might not be nice to hear, and absolutely the moment could be different. It could be a better moment to have a discussion, or there could be a better moment to have that kind of discussion. But I don't know if it's completely avoidable. Let me bring in more of your contributions on the open line.
Morning, Cathy and viewers, listeners of SAFM. Sazi here. I think politicians, mostly the leadership, is out of touch with the reality, and they're very quick to forget. I think, to put it succinctly, actually you've just done that in your opening. To add on what you said, see, the Minister of Culture yesterday blaming people from building in the floodplain. Then he says it will never happen because they do EIAs and all these underground studies and so on. But here's the thing, not forgetting so quickly. Not so. I think in the past 2 weeks, 2 months or so, we saw the Minister of Housing going to Umlazi H section where locals' housings were cracking because of sinkholes and moving sand. Who built those houses there? It was government. It was government with its friends. Thank you.
Good morning, this is Cathy. First thing, I would like to congratulate the staff of Bredasdorp Clinic in town. All those people are doing an excellent job. Well done to whoever is managing that facility. Secondly, please, ANC National or Eastern Cape leadership of the ANC, can you please help us out with the new premier and remove this Oscar Mabuyane as a belief man? This guy is useless for the past 10 years. What is it that he has done? Nothing. He's just eating money for free. Please, man, people, we need a new premier. Please remove this gentleman. He's doing absolutely nothing, just eating money for free.
Good morning, Cathy. We will always blame ANC in almost everything that is happening in this country. You can't let people to build their houses in the river, next to the river banks, and you say we mustn't play party politics. This is not politicking, but we are facing facts here. ANC has led people to build next to river banks. Eastern Cape has a lot of land, but they let the people to build the houses next to the rivers. So ANC will always be blamed. Oscar Mabuyane will always be blamed because he's one of the useless premiers in this country. Thank you.
Let me go to Kariso in Ekangala. Good morning, Kariso.
Hello, Sis Cathy. How's it?
Good, thank you.
Yes, I just want to weigh in this thing of national dialogue. and I want to concur with others who believe that it's just going to be a useless exercise, because Ramaphosa and all the cabinet states here in South Africa, they know all our challenges, they know what to do, but they choose to just go and do something in talking. So I think maybe somebody maybe they want to create a business or a tender somewhere for someone in terms of the catering and other costs that are going to happen there. It's just time for someone to chow. They just can't find or about how can they place him somewhere. So they just want to create something for someone. So it's going to be useless. These people stay here in South Africa. They know all our challenges. They know all the things and the dynamics of how the local governance is run, the provincial government, and all other things. So they just want to create something for someone to eat.
Isn't it sad, Kagiso, that even at the best of times, it's so difficult to give government the benefit of the doubt? And I'm just responding to this idea that you believe that it's somebody's time to eat and therefore an opportunity must be created.
Yeah.
Isn't it sad that that becomes part of the thinking that we as South Africans have because of the levels of corruption that we have seen?
No, my point is that all these people, all this cabinet stays in South Africa, and each of them, they stay in a certain province and in a certain municipality and in a certain ward. So they know all the challenge. What do they want to find out from all those people who are named there on the list to go and talk about things that they already know?
Okay.
So it's obviously time for someone to eat.
Kagiso, let's leave it there. It's time for your latest news headlines.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, UDM leader Bantu Holomisa has called on President Cyril Ramaphosa to declare a state of disaster in areas floods have affected in the Eastern Cape. Heavy rain caused the floods in which 78 people died and more than 1,000 have been displaced. The Free State High Court in Bloemfontein is today set to hear the NPA's application for leave to appeal a recent ruling. The court ruled the extradition of former Premier Ace Magashule's former personal assistant, Murwadi Cholota, from the US last year had been unlawful. And preparations are being finalized for the arrival of the first group of SANDF members from the DRC in the country today. I'll have details on these and other stories at 10.
This Youth Month, SAFM celebrates the spirit, power and potential of young South Africans. Join us as we dive into conversations that matter, from innovation to education and skills for the changing world. Empowering youth for meaningful economic participation. Because at SAFM, we're not just talking, we're leading the conversations that move us. Conversations that you connect with and react to. SAFM.
We're listening to The Talking Point. It is your national roundtable. I'm taking your calls on 086 000 2032. That's 086 000 2032 on the WhatsApp voice note line 0614 104 107. Let me go to Principal Fuzile Jumba. He's the principal of the Jumba Senior Secondary School in Mthatha. Principal Jumba, good morning to you. Good morning, Principal Jumba.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So today I understand that your high school is one of those that is going to be visited by President Cyril Ramaphosa. Tell us a bit about how you have been affected by these floods.
Madam, we as officials weren't allowed to speak to media. It is only the spokesperson for the department who is allowed to speak.
Okay. All right.
Mm.
So basically you're not in a position to tell us anything about how you have been affected.
Yes, and because the department says that, we're given that we must not speak to the media.
Okay.
Only the spokesperson for the department who is supposed to speak to the media.
Okay. All right, Principal Jumba. No problem. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
that. Thanks for
Thank
that. All right. Unfortunately, we'll then have to reach out to the relevant officials in that regard. Jeff, you're calling us from Middleburg. Good morning.
Hi, this is Cathy, and thanks for taking my call. I just want to park my car here. How are you, madam?
Jeff, I'm good. You should have parked your car once you knew you were in the queue, Jeff. Okay, go for it.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. Waropa.
Things.
Yes, go for it.
Two things, this Kate. One, I think the gentleman from Eastern Cape, or who's calling, supporting people of Eastern Cape, who are saying that, is incorrect of us to highlight weaknesses in our voting patterns and all that during this disastrous time. In a time of disaster and in a time of difficulties like this that affect people of Eastern Cape, you don't go around talking about weaknesses. Just like when you have a funeral of an uncle who was problematic, you don't go around and say, yeah, this uncle, what, uncle, what. In Sepedi, I'm sure you should know that. In Sepedi, we are saying that person Kilitumasha is not properly cultured. We don't do that. When there's a problem, we all go out and make sure that we galvanize whatever resource that we have so that we can assist the families that are in need. I'm disappointed by our government. They're not. Look, when issues of this kind arose, we should make sure that even your radio station should be saying, people of Mpumalanga, people of Limpopo and throughout, please make sure that you contribute to this account so that we can help people of Eastern Cape. I know that we have foundations such as we call us Hoboi Foundation that are helping in distributing blankets and other things, which is good. However, it is not enough. Gift of the givers and so on and so forth. It's not enough. Tragedy such as this one can occur anytime, anywhere in the country. So leadership should make sure that it unites all of us to go and assist. If you can't go physically, contribute a little that you can contribute so that we can go there. People that are coming with weaknesses, please, you are not needed now. Now we don't need them. We don't need such people.
Jeff, to the extent that when the officials go into some of these communities, you will also find scenarios where communities have been seeking them out but unable to find them, wanting meetings, unable to secure those. And so even them coming in a moment like this, it provokes that frustration that some of these communities have been dealing with for some time.
Yes, but as Katie, you would know, in a moment like this, we should focus on the school that you are talking about so that children can go back to school. We should be focusing on the aunt and the people that their houses are destroyed because they are sleeping outside whilst we are channeling our energy on debating referral issues that were supposed to be debated previously, long time ago. Now it's like we're waiting for them to be visited by this kind of misfortune before we can talk. No, we shouldn't be that way.
Okay.
We shouldn't be that way. We should be. That's the first point. Can I come to the second point?
Jeff, I've given you enough time. I've given you enough time there. Sorry about that, Jeff. Let me go to Mudau in Cape Town. Good morning, Mudau.
I know you don't want to waste time about how are you and so on, and I can hear that you're well. Yeah, I want to talk about this disaster. Yeah, I understand about the mayor service. Yeah, no, these people work for their own pockets. And then a disaster is everywhere, all over the world, in this world. So other thing, our people, they don't plan also for the house. They just put the house everywhere, even next to the road, without putting the walls everywhere, even in the river. I'm in Cape Town. There's other place where you go along the beach, and then along there's a place where there's like a river. They even ban there where there's a grass, something like a grass. I call likhaka. How can I put it that way? They try to ban it to put the houses. So when you put the house, you must plan, not just to put the house anywhere next to the river, next to the road. The car even sometimes go out of the road, knock the houses, kill the children, the whole family. You understand what I mean?
But Mutau, these things are not happening in a vacuum. They're not happening where people can't see that this is happening. And if you are in charge of running services in a municipality, you must actually do the work of running those services.
Or you mean the mayor?
Not just the mayor. No. Not just the mayor. Because the reality is, when you, for example, if you are looking at the early care sector, many of the mothers and the women that will want to open, early childhood care centers, etc., and want to do that following due process, right? They will be involved in processes sometimes that take years around zoning, around, getting the right permissions to actually be able to operate that center legally in a particular municipality. And yet, when people come and they're building houses where the municipality believes these houses should not be built due to whatever reasons, that enforcement is not there. But we know that it's not that they can't do what is supposed to be done. It's just that choices are made about who is expected to comply and who isn't expected to comply.
You know what happened, Cathy? What they do, they build those houses by force sometimes, and then when you stop them, they protest, they close the highway, they throw the stone. They don't have to listen. Our people also, the main thing is when you build, you must think about what is going to happen tomorrow. You must think what. Have you been in Kailicha in Cape Town? Sometimes when you drive along from Muizenberg, that side, you go to Stellenbosch in R300. Just come one day, then you drive that side. You say, let's drive. You will see. But the main thing is to say what is plan for the house when you build the house, not just to put these quarter camps anyway.
Okay, all right, Mudau. Let's leave it there. Mudau out in Cape Town. Lord, you're in Gauteng. Good morning.
Yes, Cathy. My take this morning is a positive one, Cathy. It's the resuscitation of our broken infrastructure, of which I want to mention, Cathy, that I can see some tangible movements or steps which are being taken in regard to the fixing of the infrastructure. I'm based in Albertine. I'm working there. A lot of infrastructure, such as your traffic lights, your street lights, obviously the roads themselves, they were in a very, very bad state. But I can see that there is a movement to that regard, Casey, because there's a reinstallation and fixing of the street lights stretching from Albertine towards the direction of Brakpan. So what is it that must be done going forward to safeguard this infrastructure? I've got at least 2 points here. The provincial government under Premier Sophie, within the Community Safety Department, they have got what we call
the Gauteng crime prevention wardens and crime and traffic wardens. Those units are not being optimally utilized to can safeguard some of this infrastructure. And I will propose that the Gauteng Premier, Sophie, and the PC, the Provincial Commissioner of the Police, Mr. Mtombeni, they have to strategize and have what we can call an integrated crime fighting initiative to can safeguard this infrastructure going forward, including the municipality itself, in this regard. So that is my point this morning, Cathy, that the infrastructure seems to be being resuscitated, but going on, what is it that must be done to safeguard it?
Okay.
And on the part of the community or public at large, Cathy, we must reclaim the ownership of our country. It cannot be that when we see people damaging the property or the infrastructure, we bemoan, and then we end up saying the police will have to see to it, because all of us will have to take an action. There is something we call a citizen arrest. If you are able to can effect that arrest, do something about it so that we will stop bemoaning everything, because some of these things we have to do it through our effort as well. That's my point for this morning, Cathy. Yes.
Okay, Lowered out in Gauteng. Yes, citizens' arrests are legal, but what we have seen in this country is that often they tend to go just a few steps further than just effecting a citizen's arrest. But you're right, Lowered, when you say that South Africans have to take ownership and responsibility of this country and some of the things that we are seeing happen. Butana, you in Rosebank, good morning.
You know, this deadly disaster was avoidable. I'm telling ANC government in Eastern Cape, if they were not corrupt, if they were not crooked, this thing could have been avoidable. They are lawmakers. They must enforce the law. They must not allow people to build wherever they want. If they are proper government. You know, something that I heard that frustrated me. The spokesperson spoke to one of your colleagues in the morning. I forgot your colleague's name. He said to us, all children were accounted for and they were put in the safe place. Somebody else called and tell that's a lie. They lie even in the middle of the crisis. It's disgraceful. It's disgraceful. It has, when also they blame the poor people, they have to blame themselves to put themselves there. Where is the government? Why can't they control the situation?
But Butana, is it fair to say that the situation could have been completely avoided? Because ultimately, we have seen how flooding affects different parts of our country, but even different parts of the world. It's not unusual to find destruction in times of crisis such as flooding.
Cathy, you don't just make warning of the situation. You evacuate people. You evacuate people. You don't warn them and stay there and hope that people will go. What kind of government is that? I see some of the situation that people are evacuated. Government is sitting there, tell them, you must move there, otherwise you're going to be drowned. The ANC people choose not to do that. A simple thing like that, and allow people to drown, and you say it's not avoidable. The basic things that you can do. We know we're going to be come across this flood, but people must organize themselves. It's not a crisis. It's not a communication crisis. It's a hopeless situation of the ANC government. They must face it. They must be told. They must wake up. They must not put people in dangerous situations. And say, no, it was not avoidable. It can happen anywhere. Come on.
All right. Butana out in Rosebank. We'll leave it there. Let's take a quick break. Konani in Mtata. I'm back with you when we continue.
The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
I noticed that the Capitec CEO, Cathy Mohlahlana, he's called on South Africa to, rethink how we get our numbers right with regard to unemployment, the metric, right? What do you make of it?
Would you like to believe that, Ashraf? That South Africa has a 10% unemployment rate? You must be falling from the moon. I mean, when a random businessman comes and dabbles in systems that he doesn't understand, it's tragic, especially a successful businessman like himself, who actually feeds off the money of blacks, who suffer this high unemployment rate.
Dr. Cathy Mohlahlana, he's the former statistician general.
Ashraf Garda on SAFM. Find the podcast at safm.co.za.
Hi, I'm Khomotso KG Mweketi, and I believe in music's ability to connect, to heal, to remind, and to bring joy. And each week on my Saturday and Sunday show Seasons right here on SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide, I endeavor to do just that. So join the movement of Seasons every Saturday and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's addictive. You might invite a friend. Seasons, only on SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide, with me, KG Mweketi.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
All right, we continue the conversation on The Talking Point. It is your national roundtable. Still taking your calls on 086 000 2032 is the number to dial this morning. On the WhatsApp voice note line, 0614 104 107. Xolani, you're calling us from Mthatha. I see that the President's motorcade has arrived in your area. Good morning.
Hi, Cathy. I'm not sure which side. We must be on the other side, with the Mthatha West side, where the President might be. I'm on the other side. In actual fact, where I am at the moment, I'm in a place called Ikwezi Township. Just about the post impact is more on the trees that is in some of the walls that were hit during the night of the storm. Because that storm started around about 12 midnight on Tuesday morning. I saw it on the video footage when I saw when it was blowing up the trees in our place where we operate and work. But the challenge at this moment, Cathy, with in Mthatha is water. Since Tuesday, so we haven't had water, and we literally where I am in our place, that is where in our business. So I think we are left about six hours with the water that we have, the small tank that we have. And I see a lot of people in and around are also struggling. Even the trucks that we normally hire to fill water, they are telling us that they don't have access to water. That's the most precarious and predicament situation in Mthatha. If that can be fast-tracked, I hope even that motorcade can just prioritize the availability of water within the communities. Maybe there will be calmness, because as it stands, Mthatha, it doesn't look good at all. If you were to see the debris in all the other areas, they are still showing only the mostly affected areas. There are other certain sections within Mthatha that were affected that have not.
And Xolani, from a coordination point of view, are you getting a sense that this is an issue that the local councillors are on top of? Are you getting updates about what is being done to restore the water, number one, but in the absence thereof, to bring in some temporary measures?
As I'm talking to you, I'm just looking at Truth, Gerard Spelkin Street in Mthatha there. I'm just looking at the queues outside of people waiting for a truck to come with water. I'm not sure when it's going to come and all, but on the social platforms, some people are actually being reported to be taking water from the drainage systems. That's what I'm reading at this moment. But we need water. That is, if there is any other coordination, we could probably be to prepare for the presidential motorcade that is in progress. I'm just watching and looking at the water.
in Gerald Spilkin's in Equesia at this moment. People are queuing. They are not sure. They're just waiting. They're not sure. They are told that the truck is going to come with water. From where, I do not know. That is the challenge that we are facing at the moment.
And just the conversations that you've been having, Xolani, with some of those in the community over the last couple of days, how are people feeling?
Look, people are irate, Kathy. That's one thing. We understand the issue that it cannot be managed. Disaster like that. This was more like your storm or that was heavy rains that were on Tuesday, early hours of the morning, damaging the equipment. But you need specialists to be fast-tracked to come and fix up whatever pipe that was washed away. That's how this thing needs to be done. Less talk and more of the technical people to be in their rightful places, trying to assist quickly the public.
All right, Xolani, thank you so much for calling in, and take care out there as you try to navigate your way post this storm and post this disaster.
Thank you.
Xolani out in Mthatha, he says they need water as in yesterday. So if there's anything that today's visit must do, and the Kokta minister is part of this delegation that is in the Eastern Cape, the Premier, I understand, Oscar Mabuyane, will also then be part of this delegation. So if there's anything that Xolani would want them to resolve as a matter of priority, it's getting water back to people's homes. Colin, you're in Cape Town. Good morning.
You're going to live very, very long, my friend. While I was waiting on the phone, you came on the phone. I was thinking about you, and prachtig, here Botana comes on. Cathy? Botana. You know, I agree with you at certain parts. The government should have a disaster management team ready. They forecast this problem. They should have evacuated and warned people, get out of here, get out of here. Like in America, when there's and other parts of the world, if there's a storm or hurricane coming, they know days before time. They start evacuating people. Our government must also wake up. Patana is 100% correct. Anyway, what I wanted to talk about, Cathy, was your program last week about stock theft. I've been trying to get through all the time, but anyway. You know, in 1965, I watched a film called Africa, Idaho. That was the Mau Mau's in Kenya. If you ever read about them in the war they had there, the way they massacred people and things like that, and animals and that. And I heard on your sister station RSG, the farmers were actually crying. They had to put their cattle down because the cattle that in the Free State that they couldn't steal or take, they mained. And you know, the first thought I thought to myself, 1965, Africa, Idaho, that film. How they cut off the poor cattle, their sinews on their back legs. They cut it off, and the animal drops to the ground and crawls and crawls.
Colin, that's quite gruesome.
I know, Cathy.
What is the point? Take us to the heart of the matter.
The heart of the matter is, I thought to myself, from 65 to now, is that now a culture, an African culture? They can't steal it. They maim the poor animals. And you know, I thought of Mahatma Gandhi had said, you know, you judge as a society by the way they treat the animals.
Yeah, but Colin, I haven't heard of any maiming of animals, though.
Yes, the farmer said, I listened, 5:30 at Landbou. I listened, and the farmer said they had to put the cattle down. They walked and they found the cattle maimed. Cathy, go into it, and I listened to Cathy. I listened to everything.
No, I don't remember that coming out of...
No. Okay, go into it, Cathy. Go into it. They maim the animals.
Sure. Okay, Colin. For now, I don't have that verified. But if you're saying that you heard it, we'll have to go check it out. But we know how big a problem stock theft is. Sis Vuiso, good morning.
Morning, Cathy. Thanks for taking my call. Two issues. One is the national dialogue. I don't think it is worth it to recycle the same people, some of them that have been defeated and left the people where they left them, and now to bring them back and try and make them coordinators or whatever you call it. When I was born in Soweto, there was things something going on called community in communities. There were committees that were selected. It involved everyone. It will actually address security, to address issues of social ills. I think it has to go back there. Because if you look at the Aunt Brigadier Bam, she's 95, and Babrama Segeva, 84, that Gandhi daughter or granddaughter, I don't know how old is she, she's even struggling to talk. Why can't they take it back to the communities so that communities, they know what to do? Lastly, it is the World Bank loan. It has been advertised as we won, South Africa won the loan. How do you win the loan? And that is bondage because it's going to take us maybe 2 decades or so to pay it off. It's bondage. And who did they talk to tell us that they're going to take a loan? And where is this loan going to? Because it's already, conditioned. It has to do infrastructure, why this is poverty, why this is all these things. We need them to come in account.
Okay.
Why did they take the loan?
Thanks for that contribution, Voyiswa. Yeah. It's time for your latest news update.
In our top stories, calls for a state of disaster in the Eastern Cape and UN Secretary General concerned by Israeli strikes on Iran. Good morning. UDM leader Bantu Holomisa has called on President. Heavy rain caused the floods in which 78 people died and more than 1,000 others displaced. The EFF has also sent a letter to Ramaphosa requesting the declaration. Last night, Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs Minister Velenkosini Hlabisa announced the inclusion of 4 provinces in a state of disaster classification was sufficient, saying a declaration was unnecessary. Holomisa has also welcomed President Cyril Ramaphosa's visit to the most affected area, Mthatha, today.
The people of Mthatha and the broader OR Tambo cannot afford delays, red tape, or empty promises. We call on President Ramaphosa and the relevant organs of state to immediately declare the affected areas a provincial or national state of disaster, depending on the assessment.
The R61 road in Port St. John's in the Eastern Cape has been closed due to a service delivery protest. The Provincial Transport Department says residents are using trucks and burning tyres to barricade the road. They are demanding the Nyandeni municipality supply them with electricity. The department has urged motorists to avoid the affected part of the R61. Here's our traffic correspondent, Rob Byrne.
Down in the Eastern Cape, there is some protest action this morning on the road that links Mthatha through to Port St. John's. It's the R61, just by St. Barnabas Hospital. If you know where that is, that's where protesters are currently blocking off that R61. There's also been some protests reported on the Addo Road down at Gqeberha side. It's just, you might know, the Wells Estate area of the Addo Road. There's some burning tyres across that section of roadway as well.
The Free State High Court in Bloemfontein is today set to hear the National Prosecuting Authority's application for leave to appeal a recent ruling. The court ruled the extradition of former Premier Ace Magashule's former personal assistant, Morwadi Cholota, from the US last year had been unlawful. This is another chapter of legal battles in the high-profile 255 million rand asbestos corruption scandal. Judge Philip Lopsha found that South African courts did not have jurisdiction to try Cholota on corruption that she and Magashule are charged with. He also said only the Justice Minister had the powers to request an extradition order from the U.S. government. Kamohelo Tsotetsi reports.
In his judgment, Judge Lopsha said that an instructive judgment issued by the Supreme Court of Appeal only 2 months before the NPA requested the extradition should have guided the prosecuting authority on which direction to take. Lopsha ruled in favor of accused number 17, Moradi Cholota, in the trial within a trial.
Preparations are being finalized for the arrival of the first group of SANDF members from the DRC in the country today. The South African troops who were deployed to eastern DRC as part of the SADC mission are expected to arrive at the Air Force Base Bloemspruit in Bloemfontein at midday. Members of the Military Command Council will accompany the Defence Minister, Angie Motshekga, to welcome them. Ishmael Mudiba reports.
We are just meters away from the Bloemspruit Air Force Base. This is where the South African National Defence members will be landing. These members have been deployed in a peacekeeping mission in the eastern DRC. That is where scores of them were wounded earlier in January in clashes between the M23 forces and the DRC government troops. And subsequent to that, we had about 14 of South African defence members who lost their lives. They were buried here in South Africa. 4 months later, we were waiting for the arrival of these soldiers, and it has not been an easy task, and that's how it took longer. They'll be landing at midday, and around 2 o'clock, the Minister of Defence and Military Defence will be briefing the media.
And finally, the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has condemned the military escalation in the Middle East. He was reacting to Israeli strikes targeting Iranian military and nuclear sites. Showan Bryce Peace reports from New York.
A statement from a UN spokesperson says the Secretary-General was particularly concerned by Israeli attacks on nuclear installations in Iran, while talks between Washington and Tehran on the status of Iran's nuclear program were underway. Talks were due to resume in Muscat, Oman on Sunday between the negotiating teams, who'd been deadlocked on Iran's uranium enrichment. This while the International Atomic Energy Agency on Thursday found Iran to be out of compliance with its non-proliferation obligations. The UN chief also recalled the obligations of UN member states to act in accordance with the Charter and international law. Guterres asked both sides to show maximum restraint, avoiding a descent into a deeper conflict that the region could hardly afford.
Recapping the top story, UDM leader Bantu Holomisa has called on President Cyril Ramaphosa to declare a state of disaster in areas floods have affected in the Eastern Cape. Heavy rain caused the floods in which 78 people died and more than 1,000 others displaced. For SAFM News, I'm Anne Musa.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide. Leading the conversation.
We love rating things, our phones, our cars, but our health? Your health lets you do what you love with the people you love. So who are you staying healthy for, and how can you improve your health? Choose Dis-Chem Life, the life cover that helps you live a healthier, more rewarding, longer life with regular health checks. Visit dischemlife.co.za now. Dis-Chem Life. Choose a better partner for life. Dis-Chem Life is an authorized FSP 50594, underwritten by Guardrisk Life, a licensed life insurer, FSP 76. T's and C's apply.
The Blue Diamonds want to play their hearts out to secure important 3 points. But Masandawana ladies believe victory belongs to them. This is the Hollywood Bet Super League. Catch the big clash of giants, JVW ladies and Mamelodi Sundowns ladies, the Sunday 15 June at 2:30 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus and SABC One. Also available on SABC radio stations. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
SAFM invites young people between the ages of 18 to 35 to take over the airwaves this Youth Month. All you have to do is send a WhatsApp voice note or text message to 061 410 4107 or email info@safm.co.za. Tell us which show you'd like to co-host and what youth-focused issues the G20 should incorporate ahead of the summit. And we could be calling you. Terms and conditions apply. The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
It's 9 after 10 o'clock. You're listening to The Talking Point. Welcome to the second hour of the show. Coming up in this hour, we're going to be looking at the state of the boy child, and in particular through the lens of a report that has been compiled, really trying to understand what is happening with our young boys, what is their state of mind, emotional, social, psychological well-being, and are they being catered to? We'll also look at the What About the Boys program, which was initiated in 2022, and we'll look at the impact that that particular project has had in trying to address some of the issues that relate to young boys. Before we get into it, lots of your WhatsApp voice notes and text messages on some of the issues coming up in the open line. So we'll take a couple and then continue with the conversation. And of course, we'll also watch closely what is unfolding in Mthatha, which is where the President Cyril Ramaphosa, alongside the minister, the Kokta minister, Velinkosini Tlhabisi, visiting the flood-hit areas in that particular part of the Eastern Cape.
Good morning, Cathy and the listeners. Cathy, it's Wilson here in East London. People, they don't understand the level of the poor quality of leadership and corruption in the Eastern Cape. You know, Cathy, in my first time visiting East London, it was in 2016. There is a pothole, Cathy, that has been there in 2016 June. Till today, it is still there. Cathy, and then it's just next to town. Just every day, everyone can see it's still there, Cathy. Eastern Cape, Cathy, needs people who are honest, principled, visionary, brave to deal with the issues here. Cathy, I'm telling you, Eastern Cape, the whole of it, including East London, is going down.
Good morning, Sis Keith and your team. This is Sakile Ntsukwini from Kwamhlabelingan. You know, Sis Keith, until the ANC does away with cater deployment, we will continue seeing disasters such as that in the Eastern Cape because obviously our leaders are not deployed based on merits. Thank you.
Morning, Cathy. This disaster in Mthatha, in that area, I'm so sorry for the people who are affected. Is there no way that the Department of Cooperative Governance can, with all the other departments, water affairs and that, get hold of containerized wastewater treatment works? You can bring them in on a truck, park them where you need them, and start making water. It's easy peasy. I don't know why they can't do it and have these as standby whenever there's a disaster.
Good morning, Katrina, SAFM listeners. I think Butana should form part of the national dialogue. Butana can fight. But Bona Cathy, Butana is right. Government, when they tell people not to build houses in those areas, government, if these people continue to build those houses, government must go there, remove them by hook or by crook. Because at the end of the day, we end up sitting with a situation like this. People have died now. Who's responsible now? The same government. And they will end up blaming the same government for not acting according to, I don't know what. But government, if it says to people, do not build here, it is dangerous. People should not build there. And if people build there, government must go there and remove them by force. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Cathy and the listeners. This is Nati from Cape Town in Hot Bay. I just wanted to let you know, you see what Colin just spoke of, it is true. And there was also an expose about it on Carte Blanche. What the guys do at the border around like the Free State, they cut the animals while it's still alive, and then sometimes they get only the parts that they want, so that they can be to sell off the meat to the Chisanyamas and the car wash. Thank you.
Morning again, Grant from the Free State. The maiming of cattle is a everyday occurrence.
Hashtag SAFM Talking Point.
All right, thanks for those WhatsApp voice notes. Yeah, it absolutely sounds like that is something else that we need to be doing a lot more of. We didn't cover it, by the way, when we did that focus on stock theft. And given the listeners that are saying that it is a daily occurrence, I'm surprised that it didn't come up as one of the issues raised by those in industry. But it's certainly something we can always follow up on a different day. Well, let's get into our conversation for this hour, looking at the state of the boy-child report, which is really seen as a powerful national mirror, one that reveals both crisis and opportunity when it comes to the state of our young boys. Joining me for this conversation in studio is Cathy Mohlahlana, who is the GM of the Youth Start Foundation. Cathy, good morning to you.
Good morning, Cathy, and a good morning to your listeners as well on SAFM.
Sechaba Mutsielwa is an executive at Empower Works and Empower Him. Sechaba, good morning to you.
Good morning, Cathy.
And Kabelo Chabalala is a compiler of the report, State of the Boy Child 3-year Impact Report. Kabelo, good morning. Good morning, Kabelo.
Good morning, Cathy. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're loud and clear and live on the radio.
Awesome. And morning to my two fellow colleagues.
Kabelo, what we're dealing with for today is the State of the Boy Child 3-year Impact Report, but maybe just to take our listeners on the journey of where this work began, when it was initially launched, and what the problem it was trying to address is.
All right. So I think 3 years ago when we went into the cinemas, it was through a movie approach where the young boys from the different communities, townships, urban areas, you name them, would then interact with a movie that was highlighting several issues that have to do with gender-based violence, but also the general issues that the young boys face at home, at school, and in their friendships or relationships. And I think What About the Boys stands for that prevention that we're trying to achieve around GBV. So over the past 3 years, we went into the schools in all the 9 provinces to try and understand these boys and what the kind of challenges that they face on a daily, while the goal was to say, how do we prevent something before it becomes a problem? How do we ensure that these boys do not become future perpetrators? How do we ensure that they understand what it means to be good boys? And I think that was the mission of the past 3 years. And this report is a culmination of what kind of challenges did we face, what were the good stories that we came across, and what are some of the gaps that we also identified, and how do we pause now to say, okay, this we need to continue, this we need to relook, and this is what our future approach is going to look like.
Was there anything as you undertook this work, Kabelo, that surprised you in as far as what you were encountering, the findings then that you were making as you were having these conversations with young boys?
There's quite a few things that really surprised me. I think I undermine personally, and in the interaction, I've been to about 4 of the provinces where I was consistently interacting with the boys myself. And I think one undermined the understanding of what consent means. I really thought young boys between the age of 14 and 18 understood what consent means. And what I mean by that, and I'll give you an example, the one typical question we would ask them is, if you tried to kiss your girlfriend at school, we know these boys and girls are dating now, and you agree around lunch break with your girlfriend or your boyfriend, and at what point does that agreement expire? And the common answer, 7 out of 10 of them will tell you that it will only expire after it happens. But the truth of the matter is, a person changes their mind immediately. If you are to kiss again after school, you need to ask for that to happen. And I found that they hold the same mentality or belief even where sex is concerned. So that was one shock for me. But the other good thing that came out of it was the understanding around when they must have sex. We found that some of these boys believe that no teenager has business in having sex while they are young. They believe that, in fact, we should promote them having sex in the early 20s or around 25, which was something that was also repeatedly said, whether you were in Limpopo or Mpumalanga or Northwest or the Northern Cape. And they were citing that they realized that a lot of engagement that happens earlier is when they are not emotionally matured, when they're not physically matured. And I thought that was also one of the good things around that. And I think overall, it was the need for young men to have a platform to express themselves and to also have people that care about them, that want to find out how they're doing.
Thank you for breaking that down for us, Kabelo. We're going to continue shortly.
Spar brings you 4 days of even more, 13 to 16 June only. Get 200-gram Nescafe Gold coffee jar or 220-gram refill, any two for 250, save 130 Rand. 200-gram Baker's Eat Some More biscuits, any two for 45, save 13 Rand. 6-pack Parmalat Everfresh Long Life Milk, just 84.99, save 30 Rand. Or 1.5-litre Coca-Cola Original only. Buy 2 for 28, save 14 Rand. Only at Spar while stocks last.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply. The Morning Brief.
The videos, for those of us who are watching from afar, when you see mud waters flowing almost at roof level and beyond, and people having to be rescued in that way, it looks scary, but I can only imagine the kind of devastation that it leaves behind. What does it look like?
Yeah, the devastation is enormous. If you look at around the Joslovo area, the informal settlement, those places that are under the flood lines are the worst affected. The shacks are submerged underwater. The electricity network system in the whole of Umtata has been severely disrupted. The bridges damaged and more potholes on the streets. It's a dire situation.
That's Phelo Oliphant, who is the spokesperson for the Eastern Cape Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs.
Tulasizwe Simelane on The Morning Brief.
With the ever-changing financial landscape, it can be difficult to make sense of all the moves at times. Join me, Jimmy Moyaha, on the SAFM Market Update with MoneyWeb, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 to 7 p.m, as we break down the key market trends, top financial stories, and smart investment insights, all in one place. It's everything you need to stay financially informed and ahead of the curve. Proudly brought to you by Volvo. It's safe to be brave with Volvo.
Hashtag SAFM Talking Point.
We continue the conversation on the talking point. We're focusing on the state of the boy child. So Kabelo has just broken down where the work in terms of this particular report that they started looking into started and what it has entailed across different parts of the country. Refilwe, on the one hand, you want to be able to empower young men just because it is part of what we now know is the journey, from being a young boy into adolescence, into adulthood, that we all need that guidance, we all need that support. So the question of whether it's necessary or not, at least as far as I'm concerned, doesn't arise. And then because we deal with these high levels of gender-based violence in the country, there is then an even greater impetus for us to be walking that journey and to be doing that work. But I wonder, how do you do that work and create that level of awareness and openness without treating these young boys as suspects and as perpetrators? Because, of course, the challenge here is that if we don't train these young boys, they're likely to grow up to be the suspects and perpetrators. But in fact, they've done nothing. I wonder how you manage that in this work, and what the young boys themselves have to say about this.
Thank you, Cathy. Maybe just to take us a couple of steps back. When we started this program, it was to support Pillar 2 under the National Strategic Plan Against Gender-Based Violence. And because of our work in the youth education space, we use edutainment to teach our young boys. We decided to specifically focus, as Kabelo said, on the would-be perpetrators, which are us men. But it all starts in how we raise our young men. And you'll notice on the booklet that's in front of you, it says Raising a Nation of Good Men. And it all starts in how we raise our young boys, because we tell them that, they have to be tough, they have to be strong, that they're not allowed to be in touch with their feelings, that they have to be the ones that are always domineering, that women are sexual objects to be conquered. And these are societal norms that have been perpetuating, over the years. And even us older men might find ourselves trapped in those caves of toxic masculinity. I know I don't like the word toxic. It's got a negative connotation to it. But when we decided to start with young boys, we wanted to teach them that you are not trash. Because a lot of times we are saying men are trash. But we wanted to tell our boys that you are part of the solution, not the problem. And when we started engaging with them on this topic of, healthy masculinity, and teaching them how to be free, teaching them how to be able to resolve conflict in, a positive manner, we started to see that our boys yearned to engage with older men. And wonderful testimony, that was shared by one of our mentors yesterday at the launch of the report, said that as we older men were engaging with our young boys, we were also starting to heal ourselves as well. So it wasn't an easy process, getting our boys to be comfortable enough to start to share, what they go through every single day. But it was important for us to, we have our mentorship sessions is about a 6-month process in schools. First sessions, yes, it's always difficult getting our boys to break out of that shell and to trust you, actually, to tell you what's happening in their lives. But as we continue to engage with them, session 2, session 3, session 4, we started to see them come out of those shells. And that's where we started to see the breakthrough of them being able to communicate with us and actually share.
And with all of these concepts and ideas that you are helping them to understand and helping them to sort of grapple with, what is the overall feeling and the sentiment that they have? So if we're talking about gender-based violence, how do they see that violence? Because as young boys, they're probably living in homes where they see their mothers or their aunts or their sisters victimized in that way.
One of the things that came up in the discussions that we were having with boys is that, number one, some of them, realized in the sessions that they were perpetrators. And referring back to Kabelo's point, they didn't realize that, they were harassing girls. They didn't realize that they weren't, adhering to consent. And in that session, you then have to engage with a young boy and tell him, listen, this is not the end of the road. You can still do better. And you'll notice can turn around and be part of the solution and not the problem. Second point is that our boys, yes, we've got some of them realize that they are perpetrators. Some of them also, have been victims themselves. So then there's also the psychosocial support element that you have to bring in there. Many of them have been witnesses, and that is the point that you were raising now. Witnesses at school, witnesses in the home, witnesses in the community to gender-based violence. And a young boy does not inherently want to be violent. He doesn't want to harm his peer. He doesn't want to harm girls. He doesn't want to be, a perpetrator of gender-based violence. And what we've noticed is that they get forced into that cave of toxic masculinity where older men, because boys have role models, whether it may be good role models or bad role models. They see older men in the community, the ones that are praised to be real men. They have the flashy cars, they have many girlfriends, and if they see those older men committing these acts, to them that is a right thing to do. But also societal norms say that umfazi yashao. And in our pre and post assessments, we've actually seen very important good shifts in mentality, because you'd notice that before the session, our boys might think that, I have a right to beat my wife if she doesn't have sex with me. Those are some of the things that came out. But afterwards, those started changing.
We'll get into that conversation that brings in the older men as well shortly. Sachaba, I know you're itching in your chair. We'll come to you shortly. It's 10:30, time for your latest news headlines.
Thank you, Cathy. On the news headlines on SAFM, I am Onde Lambana, and a very good morning. We start with news just in. The private prosecuting unit of lobby group AfriForum has opened a case of criminal injury against ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula and EFF leader Julius Malema. This is in connection with their comments on principal of Bergview College, Jacob Peterse, in the alleged rape of Matatia learner. We'll have details in our main bulletin. Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs Minister Velenkosini Hlabisa has conceded that urgent intervention is needed in the Eastern Cape, and the police officer is expected to apply for bail in the Bloemfontein Magistrates Court in the Free State. Philemon Aduni is facing charges of extortion and kidnapping. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
Taking a look at your markets this morning, the rand currently trading at 17 rand 94 to the dollar, 24 rand 30 to the pound, and 20 rand 71 to the euro. Markets in Asia extended losses at the closing bell. The JSE mostly red in mid-morning trade. Markets in Europe are currently trading weaker. Gold is trading at $3,415, platinum $1,268 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil is at $73.11 a barrel.
This week on BBC Primetime, watching TV could make you a winner. It's the BBC Primetime Watch and Win competition. Just tune into your BBC Primetime shows, answer a few simple questions on S3's TikTok account, and you could walk away with awesome prizes. From thrilling dramas to jaw-dropping reality shows, the more you watch, the more chances you have to win. Watch, answer, win. Only on BBC Primetime. Airs weeknights 9 to 11 p.m. on S3. Your couch just became the best seat in the game.
Hashtag SFM Talking Point.
We continue the conversation on the talking point. We are looking at the state of the boy child and really reflecting on the findings of the 3-year impact report, and also looking at the program What About the Boys, which has been implemented from 2022, and the work that it has been able to do in speaking to boys in different provinces and really getting to understand where the challenges might be when it comes to our young boys and how they can be better supported. Joining us for this conversation is Kabelo Chabalala. He is a compiler of the State of the Boy Child Report. Refilwe Mohale is GM of the Youth Start Foundation, and Sichaba Mutsilwa is executive at EmpowerWorks and Empower Him. Sichaba, it's undeniable that much of what young boys end up forming as their lens, through which to see the world, that is highly influenced by older men. And it's a case of, I won't do as you say, but I do as you do. So from watching you, I'm learning, and in many ways, I'm also then taking on some of those behaviors. When we look at what has already come out from Refilwe Kabelo, just on issues such as consent, issues such as violence, and this idea of this idea that it's the man that has the final say on any matter. We can't deal with those issues and expect that the next generation will somehow be immune to them or not inherit them if the older generation is unable to identify those issues as problems in the first instance.
You're right. Because over time, certain behaviors get to be normalized. It's when you read a report like this that it reminds you that which we think is a norm started somewhere, and we can change it going forward, so that what these young boys moving into manhood inherit is something that they are co-creating, and they can only co-create that if they are given new reference points that then they can use to redefine masculinity in the 21st century. I always say, when you see something negative, it means there's also something positive. So the fact that we are recognizing the violence, the trauma that's been caused, means we can also see the positives that come out of it, and also lean on those men in this particular conversation that are the role models for the positive behaviors. At the launch yesterday, there was quite a lot of conversations around how do we ensure that the present fathers are actually present. In other words, they are quite engaged and deliberate in how they frame the engagements, how they look at the societal issues in a way that advances what we are trying to do in making sure that we raise a generation of good men. To broaden the context a little bit more, the moment we forget to include everybody else and just talk about boys means we are thinking if we heal one aspect of society, that society will be healed as a whole. So we need to begin to expand the conversation to include everybody, so that good behavior is recognized and affirmed, and then everybody else also can call out behavior that's not positive, including what those role models are role modeling for these young men. Things like I made a car wash. We brag about what happened last night, over the weekend, as far as the women that you engaged with. How do we make sure that such conversations are muted to really enforce the point that the way that we behave has an impact on the children, that the boys that are watching us. The boys also come from an environment that also says, at the end of the day, we are trying to find a way to express our masculinity. Professor Mohale made a point that for as long as the socio-political, economic dynamics are also not transforming in a way that allows talented boys to go and earn a living, find something positive that they can be a contributor to, it does put a lot of pressure on them. And then it's like a whole noise, be a good man, be a good man. And when they say, where can I be a good man? As an example, just to express their talent, to impact economy, that it doesn't happen. There is a recognition from the older men that they too are still going through their own trauma and they need to heal. And they need to work like the one that's done by What About the Boys to also reference in their own journey as they raise both their sons and daughters. And also, I guess, the women in society to call out the behavior that sometimes we don't see. Here we are talking physical violence, but there are other forms of violence that are subtle, that are possibly as harmful, that are used as instruments to oppress and to power over others.
When you highlight the fact that there are present fathers or men in our society who are taking responsibility, who are showing up in a positive way, do men create space for those kind of men amongst each other? And I go back to something that Kabelo, or rather that Refule said. He said, in having conversations with young boys, it's not that those that are doing something wrong want to do it, but they end up falling into the pressure of what they feel is expected of them by society, and as a result of these harmful norms that we've highlighted on. And those harmful norms equally affect adult men. And so when somebody is, for example, saying, no, I'm not joining boys' night, I'm going home to watch movies with my kids, are they able to do that? Do men create space for that? No, I'm not coming away for weekend, for whatever. I'm going to be staying home with my family.
They definitely do create spaces for that, because remember, at the end of the day, you still need to be in the company of people that allow you to be a man, whatever that means for you. In other words, people who can relate to some of the challenges that you are dealing with, or who can then say to you, you are going on the right path. Titimba yesterday, who was the MC, spoke about Timer, where the activities that pulls men together to do things that sometimes you are not aware that men can go and picnic with their daughters, men can go picnic with their families, men can do activities, and it becomes something that is normal, not just amajita, men doing activities by themselves. And when they do those activities, it's then being able to role model the fun, all the aspects that are positive around engagement. It is a choice to continue to associate with people that you know deep down that they are reinforcing behaviors that are no longer relevant for today's world. And being able then to select not to associate with them. You lose some, but sometimes going on the right path can be lonely. Trust me, down the road, you're going to get other people that have been on it a longer time, and then you'll be in good company versus staying where you are because you think it is what it is.
Creating these platforms for men, but for young boys to be able to not only have the conversations, but to be emotionally vulnerable enough to do that. How are you planning on continuing this work?
I just quickly wanted also touch
Go
on
ahead.
Abudis Chava's point. What he said actually excites me so much because I'm a young father. I've got a young daughter and a young boy as well. And what I've tried to deliberately do, and I'll speak to two different age groups, is to surround myself with people that are going to take me into the direction that I want to. And what we are trying to do with the boys is to empower them and encourage them to form new norms. The thing is, if I step into a room and everybody's clapping, I'm going to start clapping because humans tend to conform. So number one, we need to start calling out, the boys themselves need to start calling each other out for bad behavior. Number two, they need to encourage each other to start doing good things, because if I see you as my peer, being celebrated for doing something good, I'm going to want to be part of that. So going back to your point of how do we plan to continue this trajectory that we are moving in. We want to start forming school councils where boys and girls in the schools will have conversations about what it means to be respected, what consent means, what harassment means, because we've seen that there are actually perpetrators on both sides. We are also calling on society at large. We need much more ecosystem players because it is a systematic issue. We need counselors in schools. Our boys need psychosocial support. We need social fathering because every single man out there is being watched by a younger boy. And we as men need to take up the responsibility and say that we are going to help a young boy, even if it's not your son, but a boy is watching you. And of course, then having more safe spaces and allowing the opportunity for young boys to be able to have these conversations.
Kabelo, perhaps then to come back to you and talk about this report, and in a moment I'll also be taking your calls on 086 000 2032. Especially if you want to contribute to this conversation, 086 000 2032, and on the WhatsApp line you can send those WhatsApp voice notes and text messages on 0614 104 107. Kabelo, for you, the key takeaways out of this report that you believe people should know about the state of our young boys?
There are a number of things that were highlighted, but the honest truth, and which is what the report reflects, is that we still have a long way to go. And what I mean by a long way to go is that we need to have more consistent platforms where we could continue to have conversations with the boys, but also observe that behavioral change that we want to see, and start seeing them moving from what is being discussed to what they are practicing. And most importantly, there is a need for more role models, as Rifile was alluding to it. And in Sesotho, your uncle, your Rangwani, your Ramokolo, and everybody else is a father figure in your life and your big brother. So I think society must just realize that it has less to do with what they keep on shouting. I'm holding a bottle of alcohol and I keep saying to the young boy, stop doing X, Y, and Z while I'm drunk or misbehaving or doing whatever other else that we are there. I think society must understand that the report is suggesting that many of us must role model the kind of men that we want to see these boys become. It will not be good enough for us to keep on preaching to them, but it will be great if we start being present, for example, as dads, and not saying we want to see a new generation of present men while the current ones are nowhere to be found. It will also be very great if we talk about love, whether you are dating or married. You must start showing that love. You must start being present. Attend those soccer matches. Be present over this coming weekend and today as we're heading towards celebrating Father's Day. So I think what the report says is boys need to see other men practicing exactly what we're preaching so that they can be in spaces where they're seeing the practicality of this goodness or good behavior that we're talking about. And I think there's been a shift in terms of them also understanding what consent means, as we spoke about it earlier. There's also an understanding of what are some of their contributions in the issues that we daily talk about as far as GBVF is concerned. And there's also a shift in them appreciating themselves and understanding that they too matter, and that there's also a space in the society that we talk about where they can continue to contribute to be good sons, good brothers, good classmates, good grandchildren, and all sorts of things. So that is how the report has been trying to show us the future and what it looks like, especially if we could manage to continue on this trajectory.
Look, and this idea, Sechaba, that all men need to see themselves as potentially influencing a young man that is looking at them. Some people might say, look, I'm not out there trying to be a hero. I just want to live my life and live my life by my own terms. So now, if I need to live my life in a way that I'm being judged the minute I wake up, from when I'm in the house to when I'm on the street, is that not unfair? Because I'm an adult, I can make my own decisions. I must be allowed to make my own decisions.
I guess like everything else, we are social beings. We live in a social setup, in a community. And to be part of that community, there are parameters, the social norms. What we are talking about here is making sure that those social norms are now relevant for today's world in the 21st century. And we are hoping work like this will allow people who choose to be outliers to actually see that, well, perhaps being an outlier will take me outside of this society and I'll not be celebrated like I was. So maybe I'll sit at the edge of being an outlier, but I'm in. Remember also, as individuals, we have a responsibility, I guess, to be the best of who we are. So if the best of who you are is being, under the influence forever and ever, is it really been true? You possibly need help to recalibrate as an individual to live your life in that particular way. We also are aware that it does put a lot of pressure, even on the boys themselves, to say, be good men, be good whatever, be good whatever, be. Also they're saying, why can't I be? I can make mistakes, learn from my mistakes, and then have an opportunity to improve on where I am. I think the point was made by Refilwe that there's always a starting point to move into the right direction. One of the things that we realized coming out of a report like this is we are talking about people that are up to the age of 18. What happens when you are 19, 20, 21? You are still quite young. And we have had a conversation with What About the Boys from Empower Him, which now is targeting 18 to 35-year-olds, so that is a transition and the support that they still need to get as they try to establish who they are in a way that then they don't feel comfortable as outliers, but maybe living the edge.
Okay, we're going to continue this conversation shortly. I'll also bring in some of your voice notes and your calls.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
This week on Off-Pitch Goals, after a successful career representing the likes of Kaizer Chiefs, Mamelodi Sundowns and SuperSport United, Tusopala tackles the property business. Join us as he breaks down his impressive portfolio and lets us in on his plans for the future. Streaming on SABC Plus and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 on Saturday, 14 June at 8:30 p.m. Off-Pitch Goals, where we showcase how the stars score in business. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
This Youth Month, SAFM celebrates the spirit, power and potential of young South Africans. Join us as we dive into conversations that matter, from innovation to education and skills for the changing world. Empowering youth for meaningful economic participation. Because at SAFM, we're not just talking, we're leading the conversations that move us. Cathy Mohlahlana on SAFM.
All right, we continue the conversation on the talking point this morning, looking at the state of the boy child. Let me start off in Mbombela. Sillo, good morning.
Good morning, Cathy. How are you?
I'm good, Sillo. You want to contribute?
Thank you for taking my call. And good morning to your visitors in the panel. Am I audible?
Yes, Sillo, we can hear you loud
Hello,
and
Cathy?
clear. Yes, go for it, Sillo.
Yes. Cathy, I'm involved in a boy-child project. Let me put my disclaimer. But today it's not for, it's for another day. But I just want to congratulate the gentlemen in your platform, what they're doing. I always argued that society has been concentrating on a girl child, forgetting that the boy child that they're neglecting is the future boyfriend and husband of this girl child that they're protecting. So they're doing a very good job, and we will want to get their contacts so that we can collaborate and work together and to make sure that we also wrap a boy child with a cotton wool.
Wonderful, Sello.
That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you for that. Nhlanhla in KZN, good morning.
Good morning, my sister. Thank you for taking my call. My sister, I'm going to agree with the previous call. When he says we must appreciate the sentiments for the job that they've done, and one day they are also doing. Our problem, Kate, starts with politicians kill each other to get into positions. It gets to be seen by the same boys and noticed. Same politicians will become drug lords. Mess with the future of the same boys. Drugs are everywhere, on every corner of the same boys. Crime on every corner of the same boys. It's sad. I think we must start with the same politicians. Help them get a cure from the atrocities they experience on the trenches. Then they feel it's okay to practice the same thing to us.
Okay. All right, Nhlanhla, thanks for that contribution. Let me take more of what you're saying through the WhatsApp line.
Hi, Cathy. Those 3 young men are doing amazing work. We need to bottle it and spread it across the country as much as we can. I've always believed that guidance class that we have at school is like taken as the least important subject, where it should be taken as the most important subject. And it needs to be permeated through every single subject. We need to teach children why they're doing what they're doing in the world, not just fill their minds full of information that ends up being meaningless.
I love this conversation that you guys are having, but I'll caution you guys, and not out of disrespect, but a lot of young men, they don't need love. They don't need this nurturing. That's for our little girls. Boys, they need accountability, and accountability is tough. It's not an easy thing. We have neglected the fact that we are raising men. We're not raising women. We need to give our boys accountability so that they can earn their respect, so that they will not have to be explained to why there's consent. A man that understands accountability, that has earned his keep in his free world, does not steal, does not rape, and does not murder. Thank you.
Morning, Cathy. It's Tulani Dasa in Cape Town. I would really love to be involved in this initiative of the boy child as the Tulani Dasa Foundation. We've been doing some work in Khayelitsha and other townships, but this type of partnership is what we would love to really be part of. I will listen to the show maybe later to get the contact details of the guy. Thank you very much. Good work, guys. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for those voice notes and those contributions. I think everybody really just acknowledging how important this work that you're doing is. As we get ready then to wrap this conversation up, I guess many of us, whether directly or indirectly, are going to be interacting or do interact with young boys and young girls. What is it that we need to be intentional about when interacting with our young boys? Very briefly, Sichaba. If there's one thing that we must be doing with the young boys around us, what is it?
Like the previous SMS or WhatsApp said, we are raising boys. We have to encourage them to express masculinity in a way that contributes and builds society.
I'm not sure I know what that means.
What it means is, remember, we want them to not just be asked to express the soft part of masculinity, because it does have a range, but it's just making sure that it does not do harm to the next person. It's expressed with love and the strength that it needs to be able to be a contributor. You do not want, for example, somebody who's not able to stand up for what is right in a very firm way and go around it. That's what I mean.
Refilwe, your parting shot and contact details?
Firstly, I'd like to say we are all raising a nation of good men. We, Prime Stars Youth Start, Empower Him, we can't do it on our own. We need society to change societal norms. Every single person needs to be deliberate in their actions. And I'd like to encourage our boys with our 4 pillars of the program, which is to share their emotions in healthy ways, to stand up against bullying and inequality, to break free from societal stereotype, and accept and connect with others, despite them being different sexual identities, different beliefs, different skin color. And if anyone wants to get in contact with us, they can reach us on our website, www.primestars, so that's primestars.co.za, and they are welcome to send us a message to contact us.
Let me thank you all for your time and your contribution to this conversation, and of course the great work that you are doing. Hopefully we'll be able to have more of these conversations. It's 11 o'clock, time for the latest news headlines, or updates rather.
Thank you, Cathy. On the top stories, AfriForum opens a case against Mbalula and Malema and a call for declaration of state of disaster in flood-affected areas. For SAFM News, I am Ondelambana, and a very good morning. We start with the news just in. The private prosecution unit of lobby group AfriForum has opened a case of criminal injury against ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula and EFF leader Julius Malema. This is in connection with their comments on principal of Bergview College, Jacob Peterse, in the alleged rape of a Matatiele learner. More on this on our next bulletin. A police officer is expected to apply for bail in the Bloemfontein Magistrates Court in the Free State today. Philemon Adun is facing charges of extortion and kidnapping. This follows the kidnapping of a 19-year-old Kamohelo Baukudi. The grade 11 learner at a Bloemfontein school for children with special needs was on his way home from school on Thursday last week when 2 men posing as police officers took him. Kamohelo Tsodezi reports.
On the day of his disappearance, Baukudi was fetched by his driver from school. On their way home, they were stopped by 2 men driving a bakkie with blue lights, informing them that their car was suspected of delivering drugs. They were then separated, with Baukudi getting into the car driven by the men. Along the way, a truck allegedly went in between Baukudi's driver and the car driven by the men disappeared. The search for Baukudi continues. Police say more arrests will be made. Kamohelo Tsotezi, SABC News, Bloemfontein.
UDM leader Bantu Holomisa has called on President Cyril Ramaphosa to declare state of disaster in areas that floods have affected in the Eastern Cape. Heavy rain caused the floods in which 78 people died and more than 8,000 others displaced. The EFF has also sent a letter to Ramaphosa requesting the declaration. Last night, Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs Minister Velengosini Tlhabisa announced that the inclusion of 4 provinces in a state of disaster classification was sufficient, saying a declaration was unnecessary. Holomisa has also welcomed President Cyril Ramaphosa's visit to the most affected area in Mthatha.
The people of Mthatha and the broader OR Tambo cannot afford delays, red tape, or empty promises. We call on President Ramaphosa and the relevant organs of state to immediately declare the affected areas a provincial or national state of disaster, depending on the assessment.
Some political analysts say the government of national unity cannot be expected to solve all of South Africa's problems 1 year after its establishment. They spoke during a webinar that the University of KwaZulu-Natal hosted yesterday. June marks the first anniversary of the GNU. Public governance expert Professor Peshotma Reddy facilitated the webinar.
Firstly, the government of national unity has been in office for about a year. Now, we cannot expect the government of national unity in its intended 5-year lifespan to fix all the ills of the country. I mean, that is being unrealistic. However, it has made a good start, bearing in mind that it takes some time before legislation, policies and projects can be implemented.
An Israeli government spokesperson says they are prepared to defend the country after it struck Iranian nuclear and military targets this morning. The Israeli Defense Force has called it the completion of the first stage in what could become a longer campaign targeting Iran. It has spoken of a likely inevitable response from Tehran. IDF spokesperson Brigadier General Efi Defrin.
For years, the Iranian regime has called for the destruction of the State of Israel, planning and advancing concrete military plans to do so. Over the past few months, intelligence has shown that Iran is closer than ever to obtaining a nuclear weapon. This morning, the IDF began preemptive and precise strikes targeting the Iranian nuclear program in order to prevent the Iranian regime's ability to build a nuclear bomb in the immediate time frame. We have no choice. We are operating against an imminent and existential threat.
Recapping the top story, the private prosecution unit of lobby group AfriForum has opened a case of criminal injury against ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula and EFF leader Julius Malema. I am Wandilambana for SFM News headlines at 11:30.
Specsavers Audiology, South Africa's largest audiology group, brings you the all-new Clarity Pro rechargeable hearing aids. Experience cutting-edge features at a price you can afford. For a limited time only, buy one Clarity Pro rechargeable hearing aid and get 50% off the second. You heard right, buy one and get 50% off the second. Visit specsavers.co.za to find your nearest store and ask for Clarity Pro today. Specsavers Audiology. Test your hearing and join the conversation. T's and C's apply.
Spar brings you 4 days of even more, 13 to 16 June only. Get 1 kg stock country spread tub for 42.99, save 15 Rand. 1 litre liquid fruit, any 2 for 50, save 26 Rand. 5 kg Goldie IQF chicken, mixed portions, just 179.99, save 80 Rand. Or 2.5 kg Hewlett's white sugar, only 49.99, save 19 Rand. Only at Spar while stocks last.
You know, ever since I adopted positive energy-saving behaviors, the National Grid is thanking me. You should also adopt this lifestyle and your pocket will thank you too. Simply switch off non-essential appliances and lights when they're not in use. Reduce your geyser temperature to 60 degrees Celsius. Replace inefficient lights with LED lights. These are some of the ways you can use electricity wisely to help sustain our energy grid and contribute to a greener planet. Just like every Rand counts, every kilowatt counts. Let's use electricity wisely. Eskom.
Honey, what are you doing?
I'm stretching for tonight.
I thought you're not dancing at bachelorette parties anymore.
Baby, we need the money to put Johnny through matriek mos.
And what's the police uniform for?
The clients feel safer when I wear it.
No, man, just sell your bucky to We Buy Cars. They give the best prices and they pay you within minutes.
Okay, but can I just go and dance one more time, please? You know how much I love it.
No, the buyer's already on his way here.
Wow, okay.
Strapped for cash? Just sell your vehicle to We Buy Cars. The easiest way to sell your car by far.
Got a Standard Bank business account and self-service banking? You could win up to 5,000 Rand cash every day next week in the Standard Bank self-service quiz. SMS Standard Bank self-service to 45787 for a chance to be selected. Answer 2 easy questions about Standard Bank self-service banking to be a winner. Tune in every day next week on the Midday Link-Up to see if it's you. Standard Bank. It can be. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Hi, my name is Kutlwana Masote, your host of Weekend Sundowner Classics every Saturday and Sunday afternoon between the hours of 4 and 7 p.m. exclusively on SAFM. Now, this is where you get your best classical music jams on any radio platform. Join me every Saturday and Sunday afternoon between 4 and 7 p.m. Weekend Sundowner Classics.
SAFM invites young people between the ages of 18 to 35 to take over the airwaves this Youth Month. All you have to do is send a WhatsApp voice note or text message to 061 410 4107 or email info@safm.co.za. Tell us which show you'd like to co-host and what youth-focused issues the G20 should incorporate ahead of the summit, and we could be calling you. Terms and conditions apply. #SAFM Talking Point.
Well, this interview has been brought to you by the Gauteng Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, #Operation Phagama Val. The Gauteng Provincial Government has been leading a multi-sectoral integrated service delivery operation in Emfuleni local municipality from the 2nd to the 8th of June. Due to the urgent service delivery needs identified during this period, that operation has been extended by a week. This initiative forms part of a broader provincial strategy to improve the visibility and quality of essential services which are being implemented in collaboration with local municipalities. The operation supports Operation Phagama Val, a flagship initiative of the Emfuleni local municipality aimed at restoring dignity, accelerating service delivery, and creating a clean and livable environment for residents. Let me invite onto the show to tell us more about this the MEC, Jacob Mamabolo. He's the Gauteng MEC for COGTA. Mr. Mamabolo, good morning to you.
Good morning to you and to all the listeners, and let me thank you for the opportunity.
Emfuleni local municipality Mayor Sipho Radebe. Sipho, good morning.
Good morning, Cathy. Good morning, the viewers, and also greetings to my honorable MEC.
And Val Business Cooperation, Kevin Engelsman. Kevin, good morning.
Good morning, Cathy. Good morning to MEC Mamabolo, Mayor Radebe, and to the listeners.
MEC Mamabolo, we obviously know the challenges that Emfuleni has been facing and the difficulties it has been facing. So let's talk about the integrated service delivery operations you've been running in Emfuleni. What are you hoping to achieve?
Well, let me start by saying that, the Premier of the province, Honorable Panyaza Sufi, in a State of the Province address, spoke about the 13 Gauteng problems, essentially saying let's go to basics. And one of them is just making sure that, for example, cleaning and many other services under two. In the first week of May this year, we had an integrated law enforcement operations in Emfuleni with all our municipalities. We're working together, and also it included, a number of service delivery interventions, roads, cleaning, others. But then Premier directed that we should come back, particularly to focus on cleaning. And it was in this context that we had this 2-week-long program, but the objectives of integrated service delivery program is to make sure that we can attend to the resolve the 13 problems that the Premier has identified, but also make sure that we can improve delivery, the quality of lives of the people by just getting the basics right.
And so, Mayor Radebe, if I can come to you and give you then a chance to explain Operation Phagama Val. What is it?
Thank you very much, Cathy. Greetings once again. Cathy, Operation Phagama Val, it is a program that says Vaal as an area must rise up. And for Vaal to rise up, there are certain basic services that we as a municipality must do and lead and deliver. But this comes from sometimes in May, we had what we call Service Delivery and Revenue Enhancement Summit. So in that service delivery, we invited different stakeholders, that came and embraced the event, that, as we were moving towards the declaration of it, then we agreed collectively that Vaal must rise up. People used to say that Vaal is like it's not part of Gauteng. But we are trying to show that Vaal is in Gauteng. And when we say it must rise up, we are saying that even we, as the leadership of the municipality, there are certain things that we must do. And one of them, it is when we accepted an invite, when MEC Mama Bolo says that, guys, I want to assist you to clean the city, which was also part of Clean My City campaign. And then we said, yes, MEC will appreciate, because that will be a moral booster, to us as the municipality, because there are certain things that we've been wanting to achieve, but, we were not getting it right. But since we started with this program of cleaning, and we said that this will be our basic, and this is where we are starting to show that we are moving forward with it. So we are saying that we are closing all the corners. We want to see Vaal clean. That will be the first step. And other services will still continue up until we can be in a position to say we are now proud Valiants, or we are now proud people of the Vaal, integrated and being part of the Gauteng province.
MEC Mama Bola, let me then come back to you and talk about what you have seen as a result of this operation. Where have been your biggest successes?
Look, I could say that the mayor, and let me also just formally greet him and the colleague from the business community. We have met with them as well. Our success, Cathy and the listeners, is that we have seen, one, the province working with the municipality, supporting them, integrating with the community. And I must say, when I met with the municipality and the business community, it was very clear that relations at that level were not where they are supposed to be. We met with the staff of Emfuleni. So from a stakeholder integration, working together, partnerships with community members, not just government alone. And I hope the colleague from the community representing business community will confirm that point. So that's one thing that when we work together, we can do far much better. And I think here we have also seen the contribution of the private sector. So I think on that score, that's one success. Secondly, we have also, managed to clear piles and heaps of, waste, backlogs. We have cracked that. There are many areas in Emfuleni where I can assure you and the listeners that we have managed to clear that litter, and we have done actually very well in terms of assisting the municipality be relieved from the backlogs of waste that has been sitting across various parts of the municipality. We are not yet done. We are there on the ground. The mayor is there on the ground. The business community is on the ground. We are still continuing. But let me also indicate that there was also a failure of a substation for electricity that had collapsed because it was burned down. So a big number of houses there were affected by this issue. We then worked again ourselves as the province, the municipality, ESCOM, prompt, swift response, working together. We were able to attend to that issue, a major success. And I got feedback from some of the community members. Thirdly, Rent Water was meant to do a maintenance of a water storage facility that was going to have a devastating impact for a number of days for the people in Mfuleni when that maintenance is going on. You might have seen that Rentwater had announced massive maintenance program, so it was also going to affect Mfuleni. Again, working together ourselves, the province, Rentwater, Department of Water and Sanitation at National, Mfuleni, we were able to plead with Rentwater to isolate Mfuleni in the maintenance of the reservoir that they were going to do. That's protecting a huge number of households from the negative effect of that maintenance that was going to be done. They used best advanced methods to do it in such a way that the residents on Mfuleni were spared the challenge that we have seen in many parts of the province when Rentwater was doing the maintenance. So what I'm saying to you, and Department of Roads and Transport, they've been on the ground. We still have backlogs in terms of particularly roads getting into the townships. The main roads, we have dealt with about 41 of them in the last 2 years, but we still have challenges on the road. So what I'm saying is, overall, and even the law enforcement operations we did with all the municipalities, I'm quite sure that the community members can confirm that with regard to waste, we are no longer where we used to be.
Kevin, as a parting shot then, as a local business leader, have you seen improved municipal services?
Cathy, yes. I think, we must thank, obviously, MEC Mohlahlana for coming to help us in terms of trying to get a cleanup. But, the town, or the whole Vaal, is essentially one huge rubbish dump. And the idea of a week or 2 week cleanup is a great idea, but we need to look at the sustainability of this, and waste in general is a growing problem. So it's a good start. From BBC side, we spend a lot of time cleaning areas locally in town to try and maintain that. We're of the opinion that the current strategy that Mfuleni is implying in terms of the waste going forward and waste management, it's outdated. We need to look at out-of-the-box type solutions for this, because if you look at the history from Mfuleni side, they haven't been able to manage the waste, and we don't see that they're going to be able to do it. If you take it a step further and look at our electricity crisis, for example, the substation that MEC Mohlahlana mentioned about, if it wasn't for the intervention of the alarm system that BBC had installed in Town Sub, we would have lost that substation completely, because of the fact that there is no proper protection in those substations.
All right. Kevin, I'm going to have to pause you there. Unfortunately, that's where we're going to have to leave it. And a reminder that this interview was brought to you by the Gauteng Cocta Department.
Turn up the heat on the Tastemaster SA this Tuesday evening at 7:30 on SABC2 as the contestants head out to a world-famous winelands estate to take on the ultimate comfort food challenge, gourmet burgers. Inspired by their dads, they must create the ultimate burger to capture his spirit, with every element made by hand. Fire up the grill and catch the Tastemaster SA Tuesday evenings at 7:30, repeat Wednesdays at 1 and Sundays at 4 p.m. on SABC2.
It's a tough day for Mark. Tight deadlines and challenges everywhere. But Mark can rest easy, because when he bought his Hino 700 2845 truck tractor, he received a complimentary service plan covering up to 210,000 kilometers for short haul and up to 280,000 kilometers for long haul. Nice one, Mark. Visit your dealer today to find out more about this limited time offer. Hino, all the way. T's and C's apply.
This week on Off-Pitch Goals, after a successful career representing the likes of Kaizer Chiefs, Mamelodi Sundowns and SuperSport United, Tusopala tackles the property business. Join us as he breaks down his impressive portfolio and lets us in on his plans for the future. Streaming on SABC Plus and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 on Saturday, 14 June at 8:30 p.m. Off-Pitch Goals, where we showcase how the stars score in business. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
I'm Michelle Constant. Join the JSB crew and I every Saturday and Sunday morning between 7 and 10 a.m. We promise to keep you informed and entertained with innovation, culture, cars, travel, life learnings, environment, and of course, your big fat juicy. Small stories, big ideas, massive inspiration. The Jet Set Breakfast on SAFM.
The Friday Wind Down. Kick off your weekend the right way. Cathy Mohlahlana on SAFM.
On the news headlines, President Cyril Ramaphosa has arrived in Mthatha in the Eastern Cape, where heavy rain caused devastating floods. The bodies of 21 of the 78 people that died in the floods have been positively identified. The private prosecution unit of lobby group AfriForum has opened a case of criminal injury against ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula and EFF leader Julius Malema. This is in connection with their comments on principal of Bergview College in Matatiele in the Eastern Cape, Jacob Pieterse, in the alleged rape of a 7-year-old learner. And Israel is adamant that it cannot allow Iran to obtain nuclear weapons. It says it is prepared to defend Israel after it struck Iranian nuclear and military targets this morning. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
The Blue Diamonds want to play their hearts out to secure important 3 points. But Masandawana ladies believe victory belongs to them. This is the Hollywood Bet Super League. Catch the big clash of giants, JVW ladies and Mamelodi Sundowns ladies, the Sunday 15 June at 2:30 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus and SABC One. Also available on SABC radio stations. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game. A bowl of cereal, a glass of orange juice, some flavored yogurt for breakfast. Ultra-processed products such as these may be high in sugar, salt, or saturated fat. Having too much of these products could lead to diabetes, hypertension, and heart disease. Our health is in danger. We have the right to know what's in our food. Demand front-of-package warning labels. Now, sign the petition on heala.org. HEALA.org.
In a land scorched by the sun and shaped by time, life refuses to surrender. From the silent stalk of the Arabian leopard to the resilient march of the sand gazelle, witness nature's fiercest survivors. Arabian Inferno, a journey into one of Earth's most extreme habitats where every day is a battle for survival. This is the wild. This is Arabian Inferno. Sundays at 6 p.m. on S3. Open up.
Celebrating our music heritage right here on the Friday Wind Down.
It is the Friday wind down, and apologies for the late start into our segment. Lumanyano Mzi is our guest for this Friday. We did start off a little bit with his music. I'm so sorry you've had to wait for us. We had to do a little bit of, musical chairs, moving things around. Good morning, Lumanyano.
Good morning, Sis Cathy, and good morning to your viewers all around the world. Not a problem at all. I've been up and waiting in excitement.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much for making time for us. Are you in the country, firstly?
No, I am not in the country.
It doesn't look like it's daytime where you are. So where in the world are you joining us from?
I am actually joining you in Bloomington, Indiana, the United States. Yes.
And what time is it there now?
It is 5:33 a.m.
Okay. Look,
Yes.
we got you to wake up early, but at least it's not that bad, right? It's the manageable type of early.
It's very manageable. It's not that bad at all. I'm excited to always wake up early and whenever there's something that has to do with me chatting with my people back home.
Wonderful. Your career has just been one of those that has been really great for many South Africans to watch you rise, and especially the music that you have been producing and how it touches so many lives. Speak to us about where the journey all began for you and why jazz. When I was introducing you earlier on in the show, in the first hour of the show, I was like, you want to say jazz, but then there's the reggae elements that come in, there's the gospel elements that come in, there's the distinctly African sound that comes in. So I wonder how you describe your own music.
I mean, it speaks to what jazz is actually, because it's such a huge blanket and a huge umbrella of different sounds and different inspirations that come through to the tradition. And I would say why jazz. I think, growing up in Cape Town and being exposed to a lot of music and a lot of genres. When I wanted to put some music down on paper, I I pretty much could not find any other word that could explain it because what really attracted me to jazz was the the endless inspiration and the endless um, sort of quest to actually find many different styles and genres within the same genre of music. Yeah.
The music bug seems to run in the family. Let's talk
Yes.
about your early years and also your dad having been a musician and the kind of role that that played, you think, looking back at least on how you ended up in this career.
Yes. So I was really fortunate enough to be raised in a musical family. My dad was never a professional musician, but he loved music and played, and it was his way. He used music as his output, to just deal with life and things that he was going through. And we were fortunate enough as a family. All my cousins and my brothers and sisters came through the band. It was one of those things that we all shared as a family and shared music together, which was such a special thing. And of course, I took that and ran with it and made a career out of it, and I'm grateful to reap the fruits of his labor and also his love for music that he introduced me to. Yeah.
What was the family's response when you first told them that, okay, guys, I think I've figured it out. This is what I want to do. And this is the hill, effectively,
Yeah.
on which I am willing to die. Because I know lots of parents, there's some careers, and music happens to be
Yes.
one of them. If you
Yes.
mention them, they're literally ready to, start pulling out things and throwing them at you because they're just worried about, well, how is it going to be different to some of the sad stories that we see and hear about?
Mm. Well, fortunately, they had no choice because they introduced me to this art form.
Oh, so is
So,
that where the conversation began?
well, partly yes, but also like I started playing professionally at a young age, so I started seeing the fruits and benefits of what I do in terms of working at a young age and being able to earn. So it was being able to earn and also being able to make a contribution to the family. So it was not a thing that was met with any sort of backlash or negativity. So it was highly supported, and yeah, so it was never a hassle at all.
And because you started playing so young, do you think that's
Yes.
what contributed to the journey that you have had, in that you've been able really to play with some of the country and some of the world's greatest jazz artists, and being able to bring that level of skill at a young age is something in and of itself. What do you think set you apart from everybody else?
Well, yes, definitely. Um, Due to playing at a young age, I've had the incredible opportunity of having a lot of mentors who who've contributed in my journey. I think about people like Wakile and Ricky from Azania, who equally shaped my professionalism in terms of, how I appeared as a musician at a young age and being able to know what's important and what's not important, as well as being able to be exposed to different sounds that would shape, what I thought or what the threshold is to being a professional musician. And that made me really run with that and be able to actually, from a young age, sort of be set apart, and when musicians listen to me, they say, "Oh, that young man is, sounds like an old man." So that used to be the compliment growing up, and that pretty much affirmed that I was actually on the right path and I was doing the right thing. Yeah.
And with time, you of course have to carve out your own path and carve out
Yes.
your own distinctive sound and effectively walk into the fullness of who you are. Who would you say have been your inspirations as you figure that journey out? And what is it really that when you thought about the music that you would put out there with your name brand on it, that what were you wanting to achieve through it?
I wanted to pretty much firstly achieve being heard and seen as my authentic self. And I wanted to pretty much put out music that I wanted to listen to. So I did not filter myself. As I said, I grew up a Kasi, so I heard different things, different music. So a lot of sources of inspiration were artists like Obrahima Sekela, drummers like Bruce Wassey, even as far as musicians such as Winston Mankunku and Art Blakey and Ruby and Sly from the Wailers, artists like Peter Tosh. So I went through this process without, putting any limitations or parameters in my creative process. So I wanted to pretty much just show my eclectic self and my eclectic love for music. Yeah.
Lumanya Nomzi is our Friday wind down guest, a self-taught drummer. Did that advance to you going officially into classical music, studying it further? Or, because you're so greatly talented, you probably haven't had to.
Well, I have had to actually. It's one of those things I've always wanted to do. So when I actually eventually got the opportunity to walk into music school and go study at the South African College of Music for the first time, I was really excited for that, and I learned a lot being there, and a lot of things got affirmed, and I got what I needed, and having to even have gotten the opportunity to come to the United States and study at Berklee College of Music, where I actually even got to study classical. One of the first things that I did when I was there, I was in a classical percussion ensemble. I got to do things such as orchestral writing, writing for media and things like that. So yeah, I've since coming from being a self-taught musician, I've had contribution in training and sharpening my skill, and I've actually really loved and admired that.
Do you find that the world looks at you differently, that the industry looks at you differently once you've taken that effort to go for formal training and, to really invest in that aspect? Or not really?
Well, maybe sometimes, because I know some of the fears that even some of the musicians that I used to play with who were not studied, sometimes it's like, the fear of losing that sort of rough and rawness of one's art, and then that once it gets into institutions, it gets sort of refined, and, there's a sense of soul that gets lost, but I think for me, being such a grounded young man in my own South African heritage, I don't think that has happened. But if anything, that has actually really uplifted. That even in the um what's the word, even in the me pretty much studying music, I don't think I've lost anything but have gained. Yeah.
You mentioned earlier about how it was good for you in that it affirmed many things for you. And we don't often, think about that because music is something that is done so publicly, that affirmation it's important, because
Yes.
sometimes you're like, oh, do people like this? Don't they like this? Do they understand me? Don't they understand me? So speak to me a bit more about that affirmation and what it really did for you in perhaps being able to trust your own voice.
So a great example and story, actually. One of the things that I loved doing, I went to high school in Salt River, and I've always, up from primary to high school, I never had music education. So there was no music in the schools that I went to, but I took it up to myself to actually visit the library and take out this book on drumming. And I would actually teach myself and play along. But because I was not doing this with people that did this particular way of playing music, when I actually got invited to play with the Delft Big Band for the first time and got charts, for example, got charts and following and playing, I remember being affirmed by the leader of the Delft Big Band at the time, Ian Smith, and he said, I think you know what's going on, but you just need to do it more. And, that for me was such a huge thing, so being affirmed actually really made me even confident in my own voice. And it's like, okay, what I'm doing works, and it's, and I'm walking in the right path. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. What a lovely story, and I think it's something that all of us can resonate with. Really, affirmation goes a long, long way. Our Friday wind down guest is Lumanyano Mzi. Of course, it can't just be the talking. We have to bring you more of the music too. This is Youth of 76.
In the morning of the 16th of June 1976, thousands of students from secondary schools in Soweto gathered to march in protest. The protest was peaceful, but police opened fire. The protest was peaceful, but opened fire. Peaceful, but fire. And over 500 people were killed in the events that followed.
We saw the convoy of the police coming down. I knew that now trouble is here. They were armless, they were not rioting, it was just a peaceful march. They were armless, not rioting, it was just a peaceful march, peaceful march, peaceful march, peaceful march.
Okay.
I knew that once they arrive there, definitely they're going to shoot. We're used to that. Once they come with a lot of ammunition. There were no rubber bullet by then.
Cathy Mohlahlana on SAFM.
The reigning champions Banyana Banyana and 11 African national teams are ready to tackle each other for WAFCON 2024 to determine who are the real queens of the continent. Where Africa competes, South Africa connects. Experience the Women Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2024 from 5 to 26 July 2025. Streaming live on SABC Plus, SABC 1 and SABC 2. Also available on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and SABC radio stations. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply. The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
I noticed that the Capitec CEO, Harry Fourie, he's called on South Africa to, rethink how we get our numbers right with regard to unemployment, the metric, right? What do you make of it?
Would you like to believe that, Ashraf, that South Africa has a 10% unemployment rate? You must be falling from the moon. I mean, when a random businessman comes and dabbles in systems that he doesn't understand, it's tragic, especially a successful businessman like himself, who actually feeds off the money of blacks, who suffer this high unemployment rate.
Dr. Badi Lahotla is the former statistician general.
Ashraf Gada on SAFM. Find the podcast at safm.co.za. The Friday Wind Down. Kick off your weekend the right way.
We continue the conversation on the talking point. It's the Friday wind down. Lunmanyano Mzi is our guest for this Friday. So let's talk about your new album, Ithemba Elitsha, A New Hope, Mzi.
Yes. So Ithemba Elitsha, A New Hope is pretty much a culmination of my life as a musician. What it is meant to inspire infinite hope in a better future for humanity, and there's so much happening this past couple of years and even now that's put the world in so much sort of existential angst, and there's a lot of contradictions and a lot of uncertainty. So I created this first and foremost to offer a welcome tonic Oh, sorry, I was starting the video. I see. Yeah, there was a. So to offer a welcome tonic, and while I was just navigating my own complexities of being a young musician and in my own journey in life, I wanted to just uh, put out music that would bring about a peace and meaning and healing.
And in doing that, then, what is it that those who buy the album, who listen to the album, what is it that they can expect?
They can expect, first and foremost, a lot of great things. You know, the album is such a the album is such a it's got everything for everyone. It's prayerful, it's joyful, it could be used as a mantra. You know, it is it's there's something for everyone on this record, and they can also, I think most importantly is I would love to hear from the people, and I would love them to actually see themselves in the music too. Yeah.
I also understand that you've got a tour coming up later this year. Now, I don't know if, maybe you're in the US on tour and we just don't know, but tell us about your upcoming tour.
So my upcoming tour for Itemba Ilicha starts in South Africa. I'll be playing at the National Youth Jazz Festival, Makanda, at the National Arts Festival from the 2nd to the 4th of July. And then on the 10th of July, I will be at the Young Blood Africa Gallery in Cape Town. And then on the 12th of July, I'll be at Untitled Basement in Johannesburg. With me, I'm bringing some incredible friends from all around the world. I have Kira Moser on bass, Isaac Ramagosa on guitar, Kevin Harris on piano, Simon Manana and Jean Strauss on the saxes, including some incredible, wonderful guests that will be with me. In Cape Town, I'll have Tandeka Dladla and Namisam Dlalose, and some members from the Unity Band, as well as in Johannesburg, I will have Spam Dlalose, and a good friend of mine, Siphe Vundla, who's also a part of the album, Siphelele Vundla. And I'm looking forward to actually getting to present this music to my people at home. Super excited for that.
You know, I wish all of our listeners were able to see your face right now. Because you've got this beautiful broad smile, and one can tell that you're excited about the work that you do and this tour that's coming up. What keeps you hopeful about the future, Lumanyano? What gets you out of bed in the morning and says, actually, this is still something worth pursuing, and I have a reason to be hopeful because there's more that lies in store?
I have this adopted saying or philosophy, if you may call it, that the music is for the people and the people are the music. I find that, I love people, I love family, I love community, and that is pretty much all the hope I need. That's all, that gets me up in the morning. And in that, there's a lot to explore in different people's stories and different people's journeys. Humanity in itself keeps me hopeful.
I don't know what the weather where you are right now is, but let me warn you, you're coming back to a very cold South Africa.
I've heard. I've been getting the messages on WhatsApp.
Yeah, so please brace yourself. Don't say that you weren't warmed, but I'm sure the events and the sounds will keep everybody a little bit warmer as we get through winter. Lumanyano, thank you so much for making time for us. Waking up at, because we were supposed to start at 5 a.m. your time. Means you had to wake up at least 4:30. Imagine. You still have the whole day ahead. We appreciate that so much.
Thank you very much, Sis Cathy, and your listeners. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity and time.
Wonderful. Lumanya Nomzi, his latest album out now, Itemba Elicha, A New Hope. And you heard about the tour that he'll be on later on this year. Well, actually, it's in a couple of weeks' time. July is just around the corner, right? It's just around the corner. So in the next 2 weeks, he'll be back in SA to kick off that tour. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, that is where we leave it for the talking point for this week. The show back with you again Monday between 9 and midday. Until then, have yourselves a lovely weekend. Be safe and God bless.
It's exactly 12 o'clock on Friday, the 13th of June, 2025. A very warm welcome to Update at Noon here in SAFM. Leading the conversation, I'm John Gericke in for Sakina Kamwendo. Coming up this hour.
We struck at the heart of Iran's nuclear enrichment program. We struck at the heart of Iran's nuclear weaponization program. We targeted Iran's main enrichment facility in Natanz. We targeted Iran's leading nuclear scientists working on the Iranian bomb.
Israel vows to continue with military strikes on Iran's nuclear program, and President Cyril Ramaphosa has arrived in Tata in the Eastern Cape following those recent floods. Share your views with us on all the stories we're going to be talking about in the next hour. You can get hold of us on our SMS number 41391. That's charged at R1.50.